Hello, and welcome to the Family Histories Podcast, the show for those of us sat quietly in libraries, archives, and spare rooms all around the world, tirelessly piecing together our collective social and family history. My name is Andrew Martin, I'm a family historian, and I'll be your host. In this episode, the Escapee, we'll be hearing about a young man from Lithuania who decides he wants to go travelling during the Second World War. And then, we're looking for records to identify the origins of a single mother from 19th century Russia. So, put down that old bishop's transcript, grab a cuppa, and let's meet our guest. My guest today studied law, but of course she is a genealogist too, specialising in researching families from Poland, Lithuania and Ukraine. In addition, she is also the co-owner of the research company Genealogia Polonica, which helps people reconnect with their Polish roots. So, before she gets distracted by another inquiry from the Polish diaspora, I should welcome my guest, Eliza Karpińska. Hello Eliza, welcome to the Family Histories Podcast.
Hello. It's very nice to be here. I'm also very happy.
It's lovely to have you here. Now, we always start our episodes with the same first question, and that is, how did you become interested in family history?
So I was very young, and my surname was very strange. So that's how I was interested in my family roots, because I was told when I was a young girl, I was told that originally my surname was different than the one which I knew when I was a young girl. So my surname was Siemionowska, and I was told by my family, by my father, that this surname is changed. So originally it was Siemionow.
Okay.
And I was very interested and asking all the time, why? Why did you change the surname? It's strange. Why did you did it? And they said that because it sounds not Polish, that's why they changed, they add this ending ski. So they said, no, because we wanted our surname to sound more Polish. That's why it was changed. And family came from Lithuania. My father was born in Lithuania. And it was even more interesting for me because why he was born in Lithuania, not here somewhere close, because I am living in Rzeszów, so it's far away from Lithuania.
Okay.
And I was asking much more questions. So where my mother came from. So I was asking my mother about her family history, and she also said that her mother came from Ukraine. And she met her husband, my grandfather, in a forced labor camp. So it was something surprising, I think, for me.
Yeah. What was your family's attitude towards you wanting to research and discover more about the family? Were they happy for you to do that? Or were they kind of, why are you doing this? Don't go looking.
Yes, they all the time asking questions. Why you are so interested in it? It's nothing interesting in it. You shouldn't check it. Why? Why do you want to check it? It's nothing. It's not worth it. So they were maybe not unhappy, but I think they were boring.
Okay.
Because of my questioning, and it was bored. Like, oh, this is so boring. You're asking questions all the time, and this is. It is past. It was past. It's not important now. So no, they were not happy, and I think bored by
Oh dear.
When I found some informations in the archives, and I was, oh, look, here, what I found. This is something so interesting that my great-grandmother was here and there, and they said, oh, it's okay. And so mostly they were boring, I think, yeah. So.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that you persisted, because...
Yeah.
To be met by relatives who just think what you're doing is boring is quite hard to work around. So
yes.
Were they able to give you any information, or did you have to kind of go and look and research for yourself?
Luckily, they had lots of information, and they had a very good memory. So they remembered all details, all stories. I remember my grandparents, they lived not far from me. So I also went to their house, and my grandfather, he liked very much talking about his life. So I was, a young girl, and I didn't want to play with kids. I went to my grandfather. I was looking for eggs, and I was making scrambled eggs and listening histories of his life.
Nice.
Yes. So I know I was strange, but
Wow.
it was so interesting for me. I think it's something inside in my DNA, or I don't know.
And I guess if you're hearing all of these stories, you're perhaps maybe a few years later wanting to go and check records to see just how many of these were stories and how many of them were factual stories. So how did you kind of approach that? How did you learn to research, I guess?
I think because the internet was the first thing which I checked. So I was looking for information about the village from where, luckily, they know the name of the village, where my grandparents came from, where they were born, living, and get married. So my parents knew everything.
Good.
And I found this information online where the archives are. So I just sent an email and I received the answer. But my first steps was archive in Lviv in Ukraine. So this is my first archive in which I made research for my family.
Okay.
And second one was in Lithuania. It was Vilno archives, Vilnius. So I started not in Poland exactly. So this is also what puts me more interesting to find more answers, to find more stories, to find more family members. That's how I started, yes.
So I know that you specialize in researching in Galicia. So I guess how does that affect how you research? Because that's sort of Poland, modern day Poland and modern day Ukraine. Does that present any challenges?
Galicia is actually a very good place to make research because here records are much more clearly, I think, because we have in one birth record we can see parents and grandparents.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yes, and for example, in Russian occupation territory, there are only parents. I think in all records. And Galician records are also written in Latin, which is, I think, better to understand for people who cannot read in a Cyrillic.
Yeah.
I had a Cyrillic in my school, so I'm that old that I was learning Russian at school. So it helped me a lot during my time when I started my work.
Yeah. What's it like for you to research Ukraine these days? Are records kept somewhere safe? Because obviously there's, as we're recording this, we're several years into the war in Ukraine. Are records safe or have they been digitized? And, that's helping. How easy is it for you to research in Ukraine?
I must say that they make great job because they make lots of scanning, photographing, and they are open to work.
Yeah.
They just speaking with us all the time. They sending me emails, they sending posts, they sending information what they have. So they are very helpful in those times which are very hard for them. And they are open to make any research for us. So in these hard times, they're very brave and have.
I think they have done an incredible job under the circumstance. So I'm glad to hear that there are some records safe. Obviously, the people of Ukraine being safe is a higher priority than records being safe. But I'm glad that some of those records have survived.
Yes, but they could say we don't have time now for this, but they are still working, and so it's great.
Yeah. In 2022, I think you became the co-owner of Genealogia Polonica. How did that happen?
Well, our previous owner of Genealogia Polonica, she decided to sell the company because she didn't want to do this anymore.
Okay.
I don't know the reason why she just didn't want to work anymore. So that's how me and my colleague from the same company So we decided to bought it.
Fair enough. So what kinds of inquiries do you get? Are they from people within Poland or beyond?
Mostly beyond, because we specialize mostly in researching ancestors for people who have Polish roots and immigrated. So mostly it's United States, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, even Argentina, Brazil, even South Africa.
Wow, so it's quite an international research organization in a way with all of your clients, yeah.
Yes.
And so are people within Poland itself, do you think that they're very interested in family history, or is it just the people who've left and the descendants of the people who've left?
We noticed that not long ago, people started to be interested more. So it looks like it is currently, it looks better than about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I remember that 10 years ago, I was speaking with someone in Poland about genealogy. They didn't know what is it and why. Why do you want to know this? So, and currently I noticed that it's different. Yes, it's beginning to be, I don't know, maybe more, this is kind of a fashion which came from United States. I don't know, but it's better now. Because in Poland, people don't want to know much about their ancestors. But it is changing, luckily.
Do you have a sense of why that might be?
I think this is because of the internet. Because in the internet, it started to be more visible. The sites like, genealogy sites, they can show us more interesting things about our ancestors, like DNA or their past, some documents which they can see. People don't know mostly how to start, where to look for information. So I think it's like a mystery which you need to unsolve.
And of course, we both know that once you start trying to solve that mystery, it takes over your life.
Yes, exactly. And you can't stop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just mentioned about DNA testing. Is DNA testing being widely adopted in Poland as well?
It's like in half. I think there is a half people who are very interested in it.
Okay.
And there is a half of people who are afraid of it.
Yeah, suspicious of it.
Yes, they think that someone will take their DNA and do something, I don't know what, something illegal.
That's fair enough. I think we've all got security and privacy concerns regarding DNA,
Yeah.
so I think that's quite valid. But it's good to hear that you've got to 50-50 stage. That's quite encouraging, because I think that will help people's curiosity to want to research Polish roots, or even just to find out who is this American who keeps emailing me here in Poland, telling me that we're related. So,
Yes. I noticed in Poland, people mostly choose DNAs from MyHeritage site, not from Ancestry. So if you have Polish family and you would like to make DNA, it's better to choose MyHeritage, because most of Polish people are there.
yeah, I'd heard that MyHeritage's reach is more in the kind of Eastern European direction. And if you have relatives from there, then that's actually a good one to be tested with.
Yes.
I think their number of people who have tested is still smaller than Ancestry, but if it's not really the best pool, if you want to call it that, pool for you to be part of, then I guess MyHeritage is a good one for Poland and I guess Lithuania and Latvia and Ukraine, I guess.
And I also made the DNA test in Ancestry and in a family tree DNA. And I took this raw data and put into MyHeritage.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do that, but a long time ago I did that too. And that was a good way of finding other connections who hadn't tested with Ancestry. What's your favourite part of researching family history?
I think the beginning, to finding the right village where the ancestor was born. Because sometimes we think that we have correct place, and then we can see that it's different. It's not this place we was told.
Yeah, so you were looking at what sort of births, marriages, deaths, or are there sort of censuses or things like that?
It depends from the family, because if family was living in the village, and if they were peasants, then mostly I am searching, birth, marriages, deaths.
Okay.
If family was noble, then we can find a bit more, so we can check. But also, sometimes I'm also checking different documents. Peasants often also sold the land or make some contracts. So you can also check notary records, which I did today. And the most interesting part is when ancestor immigrated, and I'm checking passenger lists to check from which village he came from. And I feel like, like detective, because it's checking his life, where he came from, which passenger list is correct, was he naturalized, and because very often the village or the place where they claimed to be born, it's not correct mostly, because they often gave the biggest city near which they lived.
Ah, I see.
So the passenger lists are better. There mostly are correct place of birth, but not always also. So when finally I am able to locate the correct village, this is something like, yes, this is the place, okay? I got them.
Phew.
Yes, yeah. Because, it's also many villages with the same name here in Poland.
Oh, that's not helpful.
Yes, and we need to know what is helpful when we can see the occupation zone from which they came. So if I can see Russia, then okay, so this is from Russian occupation.
Okay, yeah.
So I can check, so the village will be here or here, but not, for example, southern Poland.
Yeah, that must be relief to make that extra piece of the discovery, to whittle it down to the correct village. Where do you think or hope that the family history industry might go next?
Well, I noticed that currently direction is going to confirm Polish citizenship.
Polish citizenship, okay.
Yes, this is the trend now. People want to have Polish passport, and they are checking if it's possible for them.
Okay.
So, before checking if you are allowed to get Polish citizenship, you need to have your family tree built.
And I guess people like yourself are able to help with researching in order to find that family connection and then become a Polish citizen.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess those applications have gone up recently, and you're able to help them.
Yes, lots of applications. In the Voivoda office in Warsaw, they made the process longer because of the numbers of applications. And we also providing such research because you need to have not only birth certificates to prove Polish citizenship. So we are also searching for documents which are confirming that your ancestor lived in Poland.
I don't think I have any Polish relatives at all, not that I'm aware of. You might think that your family history is just a long line of ordinary agricultural labourers and shopkeepers, but never underestimate them. With some deeper research, you may uncover some extraordinary, fascinating lives that appear when you begin to read between the lines. Yes, it's that time in the show where my guest picks one of their most fascinating relatives, and then they tell their life story. Okay, Eliza, who are you going to introduce us to?
I'm going to introduce you my grandfather, Wladyslaw Siemionowski.
Okay.
I put two surnames at the beginning because he was born as Wladyslaw Siemionow. My father also was born as Siemionow. He was born in a very small village called Rudziszki in Lithuania.
Yep.
Currently it's, I think, Rudziszkas. So I choose his life story because his time when he was young boy and the world was under the war, his story was very interesting for me. When I discovered this, no one wanted to speak with me about this, and mostly they didn't know anything also because people don't want to talk much about war.
Yeah, I can kind of understand that. So where does this story about Władysław begin?
So he was a very young boy when he was captured by Germans, and he was sent to forced labor. So it was like slave labor.
Right, okay.
They were put into train, and my great-grandfather came to train station. They bribed the Germans, so he was allowed to leave the train, but he did not want to do this.
Wow, okay.
He said, I'm with my friends and I am going to see the world.
Oh.
And he went.
Okay. Yeah, not the best of plans.
Yeah, but I think it turns out that it was not so easy as he thought. So he ran away from forced labor, but the Germans, they caught him and arrested him. So he was in something like a jail and also forced labor camp. So he was working, I think, in a railway. I know that it was something with railway, but we didn't know exactly how he worked.
Okay. And what sort of age is he at this time as well?
He was 19.
Okay, yeah.
And it was 1944 when he noticed that something strange is going on. He noticed that the soldier who was guarding them, he noticed that he was preparing himself and his gun. So he decided to run away. So he just in a minute ran, and this German soldier shot him. But the bullet was in his ear. So he had lucky because the bullet went through his ear.
Yeah.
And I remember him when he was without half of an ear.
Yeah, he was very lucky. So what did he do next?
So he ran away. He went through his way back home. But he was again cut by Russians and the Red Army. So he was told to join the Red Army or else.
Yeah, not much of a choice.
And he was in this army for 4 months. So he was fighting 4 months and something which is called Pomeranian Wall.
Okay.
So they moved their way to Berlin. And I remember his sister was telling me the story that he almost reached the Berlin, but the bomb fell and his colleague died and he was injured in his head. So he didn't know anything what happened next because he didn't remember anything. But they took him into hospital. It was a hospital in the battlefield. Then they took him to hospital, the Russians, the Red Army. Then they took him to hospital in Poznań, then to Lublin, then to Kharkov, and then to Moscow. But he was okay. He had a very big injury in his head and his leg, but he was, I think, very strong man. He was very tall, 2 meters.
Yeah.
So he was alive. And at the hospital in Moscow, he woke up and he wanted to go home. But he was told that you cannot go home because you are now the soldier of Red Army. So he decided to escape again from the hospital in Moscow.
Okay.
So he escaped, and his way, he was going to his home in Lithuania, but he did it around. So he came back through Finland.
Wow. He went the long way round.
Yes. I think it was much more safe for him.
Yeah.
What is interesting that this is a story which I was told by his sister. Mm-hmm. I saw his injuries. I remember that he all the time told me that he has something in his head. And in some point of the time, I checked that he had medals or orders. And yes, so I decided to check what is it, because my grandfather died when I was very young, so I wasn't able to ask him any questions about this.
Yeah.
And my grandmother didn't want to talk about this much. And she sent me all his medals, but she also, lots of them put on fire.
Oh, no.
So I sent a request to the Polish president because they have documents which shows information about what happened to our ancestor, why he received the medal. So I received all documents, all details about his journey, his military journey, if I can say this. So everything what I read in these documents confirmed the story which told me his sister.
Yeah.
So I think first no one believed me. No, my mother and my father did. Okay, but I think he lied. It's not possible. And everything was in these documents that it was true.
Yeah.
Also, it was his journey of his life, which he said he wanted to see the world. Yes.
Yeah, he did. When he got on that train, he he, well, kind of sadly did go and see a whole lot of places, but unfortunately not under great circumstances.
Yes, but he came back
Yeah.
and he was very famous in his village. So my grandmother wanted to marry him because he was very famous and very handsome.
Oh, okay.
So, he didn't have an ear, but he was still very handsome because it was, injuries of war. Yes.
Yeah, war hero and an escapologist as well for all his escaping.
Yes. I remember also that he was very mad because his brother told him not to put his real name when you will be in Germany,
Okay.
which he did. And later, when Germany made something like compensations, the money compensations for Polish people who was living in forced labor, and he didn't have any proof of that because he lied about his name. So he didn't have any witnesses, any documents, nothing. So he was mad a bit.
Probably seemed like a good idea at the time. I think that makes sense to not put your real name, but yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yes, he was arguing about it all the time with his brother. Each time they saw each other, they were arguing about it.
Oh dear. So you said that he didn't really speak very much about his time other than to his wife.
Yes.
Do you think that kind of, obviously his experiences in war are, to me, they're unimaginable. Do you think that he was kind of suppressing them, or he was just like, no, I'm just want to move on with my life after this?
Yes, I think he wanted to move on, and I think he was a bit ashamed because it was a Red Army, not Polish Army, but it was not possible for him to join this army. So I think he was a bit ashamed.
Yeah.
Which he shouldn't, because he was fighting against Nazi German. And only 4 months, he almost died.
Yeah.
He came back to them, but this is the second part of the story, because his father was a very interesting man. He was in Polish Home Army and Piłsudski Legions, but I didn't find any proof of that. Only thing which I found is under his son and older brother of my grandfather, because I found documents that he was in Polish Home Army.
What became of his parents? Did they survive?
Yes.
Was he able to see them again?
Few years after the war, all family moved from Lithuania to Poland.
Okay, so they were reunited.
Yes, but it wasn't allowed to speak about their past.
Okay.
And no one could know who was the father of my great-grandfather.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know still who was his father. Because he was born as illegitimate child, but he knew who his father was.
Yeah.
And he told this only to my grandfather and his older brother. And they died when I was very young. So I didn't even think about asking this. And when I asked about this, their sister, because she's a great woman and she's still alive, and I was speaking with her 1,000 times, but she said I was young and I was a girl, and they said that I cannot have this information.
The mystery is buried. Of course, though, we've got some DNA going round. Would you think I would love to unravel this, or would you think, no, actually, they didn't want people to know, so I'm just going to leave it?
It's hard to say, because it depends what kind of information it is.
Yeah, I get, but you wouldn't know what they were like until you actually had discovered who they were. So I guess that's difficult to fulfill that. So
yeah.
Well, thank you, Eliza, for telling us this life story. But I think it's now time for you to face the brick wall. I think I like to encounter a brick wall just as much as I enjoy breaking through one, but they can be so frustrating for what feels like some sort of forever quest to find that ultimate clue that turns that brick wall to brick dust. With this in mind, it's now my guest's turn to share one of their brick walls in a hope that one of you, dear listeners, can help them make a breakthrough. Right, Eliza, how can we help?
Okay, so this is the second part of the same family, because the person from who the brick wall started is my great-grandfather, Alexander Siemionow.
Okay.
He was a big mystery in our family. No one knows who he was. All we knew that he was most probably Russian because of the surname, and because they didn't want to know anything about him because it was not interesting for them. Yeah, you shouldn't know, I was told. It's better not to know.
Right, I see.
But I still need to know. So I was checking the death records in Poland because he died in Poland. And I found the place where he was born. He claimed that it was Wilno, but I thought that he was not, because he claimed that he was Roman Catholic religion.
Okay.
So I was looking for him in Roman Catholic churches. I checked everything, and I was getting much more frustrated than at the beginning because I thought that I have good information and I haven't. So I checked his marriage record. I was looking in Rudziszki because there my grandfather was born.
Yeah.
And yes, I found his marriage record. So I was very happy because the marriage record mostly shows correct informations. So I had his parents' names, his birth date, his place of birth. So I thought that it's correct because it's still Wilno and still the same date, still the same parents. But I noticed that the marriage record, there was a small note, something about Archbishop Court. And I was looking for this decision of this bishop court in Wilno archives. And I found it. But it was, in Polish, we call it Akt Znania, which is a document. If you don't have a birth certificate for some reason, you can take 2 or 3 witnesses. You go to the church or court, and they confirm where the place where he was born.
Yeah.
So he had something like this, some document like this. But of course, almost nothing was correct, or maybe half information was correct. So parents' names were, I think he just made up these parents' names, but the birth date was correct, and the church was correct. And the church was Orthodox Church, and it was, I think, Saint Nicolaus Church, Sobór in Wilno. At the time when he was born, it was Sobór.
Yeah.
So I was looking for information which exactly church, Orthodox Church, was Sobór at that time. And it was not so easy because finally I found out that it was a kind of church which was previously Roman Catholic, and then they changed it into Orthodox Church. But I found his birth certificate, and he was illegitimate child.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that it was dead end, but luckily they put more information about his mother. So his mother, Anna, came from very small village called Dubki near Pskov and near Toroszyn. It's Pskov area. So I wanted to find her birth record, but I don't know when she was born. I don't have her approximate year, nothing. So
yeah.
I checked the available records from this Orthodox Church in, I think, Toroszyn. And they had, in Pskov, in archives, they have some documents, some records, but not much. So something survived, but not all. So I wasn't sure what they have exactly.
Okay, yeah.
There is some documents in family search site from this Toroszyn, and I looked inside of these books, but I noticed that these peasants who lives there didn't have surnames.
That's not helpful.
So this was like the end for me.
Yeah.
Because I know she was Anna. I know she was daughter of Ivan, because she have Anna Ivanovna Siemionow. So Ivanovna is odczestwo. So I can be sure that her father was Ivan Siemionow. But that's all, because Siemionow is not actually the surname, because it was odczestwo, which was changed into the surname later. So it is 19th century, and peasants didn't have surnames. So for me, it's like, oh no, this is the end, because I can find Ivan Siemionow, but I won't find Siemionow, Siemion, and who, no surname. So I'm afraid if there will be anyone who can help me with this brick wall, because maybe there is some census from this part of the area of Pskov area. I'm not sure because I'm not much familiar with Russian's archives. This is something that is very hard for me.
Yeah, it sounds very tough because you've got someone whose father's not named for someone who doesn't then have a surname, but then does have a surname.
Yeah.
But then the surname's kind of not actually the surname. It's like a chosen or given surname through some means, I guess. So it's kind of hidden and then hidden and then hidden again.
Yes. So I can stop. I think I will stop in Jan Siemionow, and I don't know what to do next. I can just guess which Siemion will be my Siemion.
Yeah.
Will be my great-great-grandfather.
And I guess DNA might help here because, I mean, the further back you go, the smaller the percentage of shared DNA you have to modern living descendants. But I guess, the DNA will tell you something, but you'd also want to know what the paper trail is. But there's not a paper trail by the sounds of it because of the lack of the surnames. You wouldn't be able to spot them in the records.
And this is very hard because I was so surprised because this is 19th century. It was 1850, if I remember correctly, which I checked. So 1850 and no surname. Gosh. I couldn't believe it. So I was checking this, like 100 times because I just know this is not possible.
Well, this does sound like a very tough brick wall. The surname that Anna does seem to appear to sort of have, how are we spelling that?
Siemionow. So it's Siemionow.
I'm going to attempt it. Siemionow.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're being polite, but I'll run with that.
It's okay.
Okay, so with this brick wall, quite tough, what's the best way for listeners to make contact with you if they think that they have a clue or a research idea?
Maybe by my email.
Okay.
It's Eliza.
Yeah, at
genealogiapolonica.com.
Got it. Of course, listeners can head over to familyhistoriespodcast.com where they can read this episode's show notes and send us a message, and they can find Eliza's email address there too and the website address. Or you can just email us at hello@familyhistoriespodcast.com and we'll pass that message along. Now, while our listeners are frantically scribbling notes and working how on earth they're going to solve this one for you, it's just possible that I might be able to help you. But you're going to need to follow me through to the garage.
Wow. What is all this?
This, Eliza, is my secret time machine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, it's a fully functional, highly calibrated scientific masterpiece and an essential part of a busy genealogist's research toolkit.
Oh, how does it work?
Well, there's the question. And ironically, I don't actually have enough time to explain right now, but what I do have time for is to offer you a little return trip. Maybe you could go back in time to solve that brick wall of yours.
What if it breaks?
Breaks? Oh, that never happens. Well, not properly or often. But rest assured that there are safety protocols and procedures that will kick in automatically.
Like what?
I've got a fire extinguisher and probably some paracetamol here. Oh, no, it's out of date. Other than that, I just go back in time and we could start again.
Okay, so I also cross my fingers too. Do I need to do anything else?
If you take a seat over there, then I'll get this all set up. But you'll need to tell me when and where you'd like to go back to.
I don't know why, but my first thought was the Battle of Grunwald, northern Poland.
When's that?
July 1410.
Oh, unexpected choice, but okay. There we go. That's all set. Let me lend you this helmet. And I've got some plasters and iodine here too, somewhere. There we go, just in case. You'll need to take this with you too.
What is this?
That's a temporal beacon. Keep it safe, and then when you want, or, need to come back, just tap that big button on the top, and you'll be back here before you even know it.
This one?
Oh, no, that's the emergency catnip spray. You never know when that might come in handy, and never underestimate the power of it. It's actually the one next to... Yeah, that's it.
Okay, let's go.
Right, this is it. Eliza Karpińska. Thank you, goodbye, and good luck. Grunwald, Poland. Yep. 2:10 on the 15th of July, 2026. What? Oh, 14:10, 2:10. Whoops. Oh well, at least she's safe. The Family Histories podcast was presented and produced by me, Andrew Martin. My guest was the wonderful Eliza Karpińska, and if you've enjoyed this episode, then head over to familyhistoriespodcast.com to find out more about this and our other episodes. Thank you for listening. Approximately no family historians were harmed in the making of this podcast.